The Left Back's coverage of the Carlow Hurling Championships for 2023 is brought to you in association with Talbot Fitness, Brendan Kavanagh Furniture, Corcoran Precast Tanks, Milano's Takeaway Bagnestown, Connolly's Topline Hardware, PFT Travel, Ray Whelan Limited, Earth Spas and the Arboretum Loughlin Bridge. Hello everyone, welcome along once more to another edition of the Left Wing Back podcast. We are knee deep in hurling championship season. We've 3 rounds played. We have another couple of rounds to go on the senior championship before we head straight into semi-final and final action. It's all coming thick and fast indeed. We've no Stevie Barnbright tonight. He's on the graveyard shift, but we do have Mr. Joe Nolan. What's the story, Joey?
Good, Kevin, and you? Yep.
Yeah, not so bad. Listen, thanks for taking the call here once more. You're a busy man. I know that, especially this time of year. Are you busier now than what you would have been a couple of months ago?
Busy with these lads anyway at the minute. Sure, busy enough. Yeah, there's always something to be at, isn't there? So I'm doing between finishing up a bit of exam work and a few bits at home and a few bits here and there and a bit of club stuff and stuff. So, but a nice type of busy.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that one of the? We should make people aware of this. A lot of people will be anyway. Is that one of the things that you would actually do to unwind, go out into the shed and fix up the hurls? Do you find that like borderline therapeutic stuff, or is it just a headache?
No. I love it. Yeah, love it. Yeah, I suppose. Look, I'm obviously into woodwork. That's what I do, as I say, I'm a woodwork teacher. So I enjoy it, and I treat them as a bit of a puzzle, or you know what I mean. Nothing. I don't like getting the better of me that way. And I suppose the second thing too is the idea. I'm not big into it, but I'd be conscious of the idea of sustainability and ash and run out of timber and maybe all those hurls that are left in places that shouldn't be and laying around, and we're crying out for them, and getting them going. So it is a hobby. Yeah, I do go out to unwind out there. Yeah, I actually enjoy tipping away at them. It's a great way to kind of blow off a bit of steam. Yeah.
Well, I think in terms of resuscitation of hurls, I've never seen anyone like it, because a lot of people wouldn't even look at half the stuff that you bring back to the shed, and by hook or by crook, you're able to get Humpty Dumpty back together again. So I don't know how you do it, but they seem to last as well, which is quite remarkable.
Well, they do. Yeah. Lucky. Look, sure. But see, I suppose, look, we're lucky in the county. We have so many great hurl makers and hurl repairers, and for them, what I do, some of the ones that I do, they wouldn't be commercially viable. Do you know what I mean? Because there just wouldn't be for. I mean, look, we have great hurley makers, and my own cousin down the road, TJ Byrne, and he's one, James Jordan down there in St. Mullins. Another one. You have there's lots of good, like there's lots of lads at them around as well. But I suppose, look, and there's Young Townsend, over in Burn Rangers direction. But for them to, like, for me to do them as a hobby is different than them to do it as a job. But I do enjoy it. Yeah, I don't, as I say, I'm actually working on one from John Murphy's at the weekend. I think it's the third time it's been broke straight across the middle, and they're all different breaks. But the glue will never break. But John will manage to find another place to break them somehow. As the weekends go on, he finds there's not an inch of timber left in it. But I enjoy that. Yeah, I do enjoy it. Yeah.
Yeah, if anyone to find a way to make it happen, it's just John Murphy. And again, it's that whole thing of the irony and I suppose the tight-knit community of Carlow hurling. Like, he was playing for the opposing team, to your own club last weekend, and jumps up the hurl. And I mean, I'd come to expect nothing less with you anyway, because you get on with everyone. There's never any hassle, and life's too short for all that stuff. But it is gas, and it is Carlow, isn't it?
That's it. Well, I suppose in fairness, Stevie would drop up the other one to me, and I tip away at them, as I just said, or I enjoy doing them. So he knows what therapy I need. Stevie does.
Yeah. The other thing we didn't mention actually was that you two, I don't think we mentioned on the podcast anyway, we were in opposing corners for that junior game some weeks back. Like, and I don't know how soon the pod was. It was must have been only a matter of hours or days at best. What's the dynamic like actually when you go up against Bamrick on the line?
Sure, grand lad. There's never there's never any bother at all. So they're only chatting about something else. I think he bumped into a mess and he was filling out a team sheet or something when he at the junior game. And sure, even after the senior game at the weekend, I met him actually on the way out to the car, and he handed me a couple of hurls. So that was it. There was, as I say, mixing business with pleasure. But geez, no, there's never any hassle. Geez, sure, look, you couldn't be any better than Stevie. And in fairness, there's never any hassle with any of the hurling matches. They're all great people involved with any of the teams and all our clubs around. So we're lucky that way.
Yeah, absolutely. You never struck me as a confrontational type on the line, John, in fairness, but was there, can you ever recall a time where you had a fairly heated one? I couldn't imagine it lasted beyond the 60 minutes on the field anywhere on the sideline.
Jesus.
Maybe one or two.
Yeah, no, well, probably not really. Like one or two little incidences. Some things that would annoy me on the pitch, maybe. There was one, I won't say, one thing that stuck in my mind. You know who I'm on about here, but I won't mention names. From my stint as a selector with Carlow Seniors, there was one particular player from a county we've beaten, the Joe McDonough there recently enough.
Absolutely.
Who rubbed me up the wrong way, just the way he came off the pitch, kind of good and all right. But no, other than that, no, I don't get too hot. I don't get too up for Anton. I don't get too down for Anton at the end of it. I think it's not my nature. I'm kind of easy going, calm going anyway. So, but no, lucky enough, no major run-ins that I can remember anyway. You know.
Mm-hmm. That's another interesting thing we could talk for ages about. I suppose is the psyche of people on the sidelines. Some people are borderline lunatics, have won all Irelands, like, you know, and this whole thing went out there that you have to be calm when everything else around you is not so calm. But like, yet you'd see the craziest of crazy winning all Irelands, and you also say that. I suppose it takes all types, and it's whatever gels with whatever place you go to in essence. But what's the crack with the weekend? So I missed the whole fucking kit and caboodle. I did the preview. Obviously, you've been fairly busy, so I said I'd have a go at putting my neck up on the chopping block for a stage rather than, or for a change, rather than you being the one that was taking all the abuse, which you did get a little bit about your Bangerstone prediction.
Off Hickey mainly.
Yeah, Hickey might have thrown in a dig or two. Yeah,
that's it.
When I wrote that last week, I said, do you know what? I'll keep this as open-ended as possible. I'll put down the verdict, but I'll leave enough in there to cover my arse if it goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like a man in The Unbelievables calling out the weather. That's the way you're a little bit of everything.
Absolutely, that. Absolutely. So I suppose with Rangers and St. Mullins, without having seen the game, you know, from what I heard anyway, and correct me if I'm wrong, you know, you felt obviously there was more gears in both of them. But by and large, I suppose there was still lots of good periods of play. I actually did think that would be close, but a 6-point win for St. Mullins, from a lot of what I'm hearing, was fairly sound and justifiable. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, that's what I only made the 2 games on Sunday. I was playing soccer myself on on Friday night. But yeah, from all accounts, talking to my brother and Stevie and that, I think it was tame enough in parts, and you know, but St. Mullins kind of were the better team. Interesting to see we had two, you know, the 2 big guns on both sides, I suppose, coming out and you know, scoring fairly heavily. St. Mullins minus James Doyle. John Nolan did come on for Mount Leinster Rangers. So look, I think both teams were probably taking little bits from it, other than the result, if you get me. Do you know what I mean? In terms of, as I would have alluded to maybe last week, that they might have been looking to get game time into other players, maybe see what works, you know, see what works one against the other in terms of maybe matchups and yokes that they might use later in the championship. So I don't think either team will take too much more out of it than other than the game and the 2 points for St. Mullins. I think I think that's the way they'll be both looking at it, you know.
Yeah, the one thing I could sense, I suppose, from looking at the lineups is each game will say Sean Joyce, Michael Joyce, and all those guys get for Rangers going to stand to them, because they're actually in a tough apprenticeship there now at the minute. In fairness, like it's not easy on them, and I know Michael Doyle, I think, came in at half time, and that will be a very steady influence there. You know, it would be unfair to expect anyone, no different to what I wrote about Bangerstone last week. There's a lot of those guys still in the infancy stages of their careers, even though we've seen them play senior for maybe the last 3 years. We actually kind of forget how young they are, and maybe the naivety of the play is still there and they are still developing. So we kind of have to allow for a bit of time. And I suppose that's one of the positives of this group format, Joe, where they can bet in and there isn't drastic consequences. coming down the stretch, because there's still a good chance you'll get to your semi-final stuff. I think that's a positive maybe that Rangers will take for it. What would you think of? I put this out there last week and I didn't see the game, but do you think a full strength Rangers and a full strength St. Mullins at their best, who wins that one at the minute, if you were to call it? I actually still think Rangers, when they're in that form, are just a joy to behold, but St. Mullins are also pretty tasty when they're absolutely on it. But I just feel there's a lot of personnel changes from that final 2 years ago, and it's probably wrong to maybe compare it to that. I would love to see St. Mullins at their absolute best, because I don't think we'll ever see Rangers maybe at that again. That was as good a performance as I've ever seen in the county final, albeit with different personnel now. What would you think if we saw both of them at their very best this minute?
Oh God, Kevin, it really is the $64,000 question to say. I don't know. I just think St. Mullins at the minute are just, like we said, they have no real rebuilding to do as such. The one or two lads coming in, Eamon O'Shea has come in. Maybe that's new or relatively new. He's county under 20 there last year. Good chap, but like, Eddie Doyle has come on a little bit, as well, in terms of, getting starts as well. But, they still have that solidity and that kind of, I suppose, backbone of their team there in place for the last number of years, and all in good shape as well. Whereas maybe Rangers are doing a little bit more building, good players coming in, obviously, like we said, the Jaces and young Jamie Nolan and Evan Keeley is relatively new, Donna Murphy, only there a year or two. So, I just think at the minute, with full hands on board, I'd probably be giving it to I'd probably just give it to St. Mullins, because of maybe they're a little bit further down the line in terms of their development. Like I said, I just think Rangers at the minute are building in a few places, and but it would be a titanic game. But look, you wouldn't know. Maybe we'll see it later in the championship.
Yeah, quite possibly. Another thing I was actually thinking about, a player that goes under the radar, and I'm not just talking about last Friday's performance, which I have no idea how he played or how he didn't play, but I just had this thought there during the week, and sure, we're all the same. I think on this podcast we get these mad notions at queer times. Maybe you're trying to go to sleep, and next thing, geez, that actually happened. He was actually pretty good, and he's always been pretty good. We talk about Boland, we talk about Mouse, we talk about James Doyle, whatever. We talk about Conor Keogh. We never really talk about Jason O'Neill, and Jason O'Neill in last year's county final lit the whole thing up. He got the winner in the county final in 2019. He put over line ball in the Leinster final. Yeah. And I just think sometimes he's borderline forgotten about.
Well, that's the great thing about St. Mullins. Like you look at it up to, I won't say up to last year, the year before, like Paddy Boland, like he got 7 points was in the group game against Bagnallstown.
It was incredible. Yeah.
I mean, we did the game, but like, other than, he's had his ups and downs, and then Jason O'Neill will come in another night, and maybe Mouse will be quiet another night, and James Doyle will step up. They seem to have that kind of dynamic where, if one isn't performing, someone else will step up. But you are right in terms of Jason O'Neill. He's a fantastic hurler. Probably like he is inter-county standard, or he's definitely Carlow senior standard. And I know he just, with other things going on, just couldn't come in or whatever else. But that's all them lads' choices. But he's still a young man. I think he's only Jason will be about 24, maybe 25, maybe So he's kind of coming to good. Philip Connors, another one. The amount of work these lads do off the ball, they're setting up scores, they're picking off a couple of points here and there. They have a phenomenal. Like I said, we look at their kind of front six, and maybe we talk about their scores, but even John Doyle this year is kind of hitting the ground fairly rapid. He's picking off 3 and 4 points a game. If you can have your 6 forwards like that and all of them taking over scores, you become a formidable outfit fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think one concern for Rangers, they'll be looking to get more of Eddie Byrne. He was kind of quiet when I saw him against Bagnallstown. I don't know if he scored the other day. Actually, I must go down through the list. We have the report here. If you haven't checked out the reports, they're up on leftwingback.com. The guys have been so good in getting these across and stuff whenever I've not been able to get there. And I really do appreciate that, Joe, now that I have you here as well. But no, like I don't see him listed among it there. And look, I did hear, I'm sure he won't mind me saying it, right? Hickey Pote Queer one before we went on air. He said if he was playing Eddie Byrne anywhere from Munster Rangers at the moment, where do you think he'd play him? I'm going to give you a guess at first.
Jesus.
It's Hickey now, so it's going to be a bit different.
God, I don't know. Probably, I don't know. You wouldn't have centre back or somewhere. You wouldn't know where you'd take him. Centre
Nail
back.
on the head.
Yeah.
Nail on the head. Could you see it working?
She's like, I actually had a great chat with a good friend of mine, Colin Corcoran, the other day about TJ Reid and something similar in terms of a lad, all the head and all the hurling and the hands. Maybe if when the legs weren't pumping as a forward, sitting back there in a role like that. So it wouldn't be beyond the bounds of possibility. But I don't know. I don't know. Like with a view to what, like you know what I mean. Like I think Kevin McDonald, in his current position back there is excellent. Dermot has done most of his hurling there midfield. It's hard to know what would you gain. Who would you push and what would you gain as a result? Like in terms of his move, like, do you know what I mean? But Eddie has had good seasons later, even though I suppose the mileage is up on the clock a lot. But he knows how to perform in big games too. Come the tail end of the championship. I don't know. I'd be a little bit iffy about it. You know what I mean? I because I suppose I wouldn't have seen him in a ball playing role. Do you know what I mean? You could probably see. When we were talking about TJ Reid, you could see when he does drop back or even back to midfield, or when he was there with Ballyhale, he's kind of ball playing and he's his vision and his distribution. Whereas I haven't seen that with Eddie. Obviously, you'd see it as in a forward role when he would have done it, as a playmaker at centre forward or on the wing with the county and whatever, and that sort of thing. But I suppose Eddie or James has seen him a lot more than we have, so maybe he sees something there that would work. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe so. I'm kind of getting the impression you're starting to like what you're seeing about your own club. I was listening to you on Full Time with Martin Quilty on Scoreline.ie and Casey Law, who's been very good to the Left Wing Back podcast and the Irish Rally podcast and the Irish F1 show as well. Over the last few weeks, we got serious airtime, and thanks a million, Joe. You've been on a few times with him, but the other night you were on, and I just got that impression from listening to you that you kind of liked what Ballinkillen were doing. Now, I suppose I'll put the caveat out there. It's pretty dangerous to maybe try not get carried away. Obviously, it is with Toronto. We don't want to be hyped up too much. But what I'm trying to say is you've beaten a breed, and Meister was going to be probably one that you might come to. You wouldn't know what way to go. But all of a sudden, I think what you're saying is you've 2 wins going into 2, big games here now again, and you're hoping maybe the momentum will carry him through. Can they make the step?
Can Ballinkillen?
Is that where you're thinking? Like, I'm getting the feeling you're seeing something.
Yeah. Well, look. I saw something at the weekend. Like, I mean, look. It's a simple thing. Like when we talked about the ifs and the buts and the movement and players coming and going and so on, like Sunday evening was a step in the right direction because we had a couple more players available to us, and as a result, then, like I said, from the first game to this game, like, or take even last year, we now have kind of 7 of our 8, if you get me, our first 8, or sorry, 8 of our first 9. I get it eventually. 8 of our first 9, kind of from where we had them last year. And when you have those puzzles or pieces fitting back into puzzles, say, it does give you that little bit more extra. I suppose I was happy from the point of view, in particular, without picking out anyone in our performance, a couple of things that I thought other years maybe we wouldn't have put up a score when we had a chance to put up a score, like 221, and we did leave a lot of wides behind us. It was a nice score, and I know maybe Nate Breed might have been a little bit disappointed with how they hurled it at the weekend, but I suppose we could only do what we could do, and in other years maybe we wouldn't have put up that score. So that was nice to see, and I suppose Cormac Lummox came back, made a massive difference, got a point or two, so a good few scores. It brings a new dynamic there to midfield along with Kevin Kavanagh. Like, Kevin picked off 3 points, like, so the two of them kind of worked very well together. And then Shane Kelly coming in, making his debut as well. I think he got 6 points, maybe 4 from play and 2 frees. So
some debut.
Yeah, it was, and probably unlucky maybe not to have a goal maybe as well. So look, it's progress. Like, you know what I mean? We got the win. we've a couple more players now with championship minutes under our belt, so we are going the right direction. You know what I mean? I think that's the key thing. When we're probably building more maybe more options than we had last year as well. In terms of player options and maybe even like you mentioned there about other players getting a year under their belt. Like we forget, say if you take like Jack Tracy or Eric English or these lads, they're only young lads. Mark Foley, they're only young lads. And I think too as well. We talked about the benefit of maybe of lads being in with the county before with other clubs. Like Jack Tracy has really blossomed this year in the club championship for us, and I think a lot of that is because learning how to play at that higher level again with the county and seeing his role and his strengths as well. And that's good to see that he's bringing that across onto club form as well. So I think we're going the right direction. But look, there's a massive task ahead of us there at the weekend. I mean, look, Rangers will want to bounce back fairly rapidly. We'll want to dig in our heels, as I say, as well, in terms of not letting last week's victory kind of count for nothing. We'll want to put in another performance as well. So I suppose like we said before with the Rangers St. Mullins game, it's kind of what's done is done. You can only look on to next week now,
Yeah, look, just very quick word maybe on Byndestown and Naomh Eoin. So Byndestown 2-point win in the end.
Yeah.
What was the manner of the victory, Joe? Was it laborious, or what way? Like, should Naomh Eoin have taken something?
Well, sure. I mean, a minute to go, a minute of normal time, they were a point up, like. So look at it like that. Bagenstown didn't fire. Like, I mean, if you look at the scores from play, I mean, look, I think at half time, Styler had accounted for 7 of their 8 points from frees, and I think was it Jason Wall or Paddy McDonald got the one score from play, like. So look, I mean, again, like if you look at the margin, flip it a little bit for a second, like, right, from a Mice point of view, they've been beaten by what, 2 points, and 6 or 7 points, like, so they are close, but they're just not close enough. They had chances to punish Bagenstown again. Yeah, I think worryingly for Bagenstown, I don't know, I kind of was thinking about it myself as well, that I think that they need that first few minutes of a game to kind of really set a good tone or a good tempo for themselves. And I think when that didn't happen, that, with the conditions and the nature of the game on Sunday evening was kind of dour and, kind of slow tempo and broken play with frees and stuff, that it didn't give them any rhythm. And I think that definitely affects how they hurl. They need to have that high tempo, that high rhythm, that kind of, like I said, we kind of nearly outshoot each other sort of thing. And I think when it's not a game like that, I don't know, is it a mindset thing that they seem to struggle to play themselves into? You know what I mean? So yeah, look, it probably was a game that Naomh Eoin will probably look back on again and say, like, look, that was a game, like I said, that we probably could have turned something out of, like, so. But it's hard to know about Bagenstown. I mean, look, they can blow. They seem to be blowing kind of very hot and cold in terms of scoring and kind of tempo and games at the minute. So again, the weekend will be another kind of an eye opener for them,
Yeah. I can only assume that the people of Bagenstown to be quite frustrated, because despite what I said earlier about maybe some of the guys in the infancy stages, it's that inconsistency at times that I think would frustrate people, especially when obviously there's a little bit more in them. It's a real shame. Like, I mean, there's no room for pity in senior championship hurling, right? But by the same token, Mullins or Naomh Eoin have really made strides. You can see there's visible strides there, but they're just not getting the results, like, and maybe in time that will come. But look, there's no points for moral victories, but there's also a situation where, like, you can see they're getting that bit closer. I would probably suggest that that's tangible progress in some respect, but at the same time, it's probably difficult to maybe keep the squad in that line of thinking with a bigger picture approach. Now, this weekend could well help, because obviously all of us we have a triple header on our hands. So what is it, 4, 5, and 7 or something like that, Joe? Yeah, on Saturday.
So, yeah.
First up is Ballinkinnon Rangers first, or is it St. Mullins Bagenstown? I think it's Ballinkinnon Rangers, is it?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm nearly certain. I'll do a double check. Look, that's a test now to start off with the first one. Like, that is a test for Ballinkillen to see. Look, obviously the results indicate they're moving in the right direction. The games against Rangers, Joe, I spoke about consistency. If you go back through recent form, I'm almost certain now, I don't have it in front of me, but there's times when Rangers have absolutely wiped Ballinkillen, and there's times when Ballinkillen have absolutely sawed into them. They've scarcely gotten a result against them. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's a reality, Kevin. Yeah. Yeah, and I and it's a hard one to fathom at times. All right. We seem to perform better against some clubs than others from Ballinkillen point of view. But
same with everyone.
Yeah, same with everyone. Everyone has teams. But so look, I think it'll be look, there's a few question marks over lads like Sean Murphy from Ballinkillen point of view went off against St. Breed. After he scored a goal, he literally put the hand up and had to go. He felt a little tweak in his hamstring, so his availability will be key to, I think, for us mounting to win the game. Do you know what I mean? To win the game, I think we'll need him on the pitch. So I don't know how he's fixed in terms of his how that injury, but he'd be a massive loss from a Ballinkillen point of view. Like again, neither team will want to lose this, because I mean, look, they both have kind of Munster Rangers have like kind of maybe stuttered a little bit against Michael, or what they would feel that they stuttered a little bit against Michael. Lost to St. Mullins, right? Had a very good victory over Bagenstown Gales, but then didn't seem to put, didn't back it up with another performance the next day, or maybe. So I think they'll be kind of gunning to to try to get a win here. Obviously, I think we talked maybe about the semi-finals and about getting into them and what's what. But I think teams will be kind of keen maybe to avoid that fourth place, and maybe probably it looks of it at the minute, it looks like St. Mullins will probably top the group. So you'd imagine going on form, they should top the group. So I mean, no one will want to kind of leave this one, will want to lose this one and have it coming down to the last game in terms of, finding their place if they're playing for fourth or third or second or whatever else. So it has a bit, it will have a bit of bite to it too. It's hard to call, again, I think, John Nolan came on for Rangers the other day. If fit John Nolan adds a huge amount to that team. If Patrick was back there the last day, you have Michael Dylan there as a man marker inside, or maybe or wherever, because he can hurl wherever he wants in terms of any of the six positions in the backs. I hope you're not putting me on the spot here to call this, Ranton.
No, absolutely not. Just I suppose.
Yeah, look. I think this one will have a bit of fizz about it. I do think this one has something. Will have a bit of bite about it, because both teams won't want this one to get away from them in terms of either the scoreline, and then, like I said, more importantly, if Ballinkillen, say from Ballinkillen point of view, if Rangers turn us over, we need to get a result kind of against Bagenstown to kind of, I think, for possibly for. To avoid fourth place, and maybe you want to kind of maybe avoid that. So look, I think it'll have a bit of fizz about it, and hopefully the weather conditions will stay good.
And it's also not beyond. It's not realistically beyond the bounds of possibility for Ballinkillen to top this, because just say you were to get a result the weekend,
But then you're like
three teams on 8. If 3 teams end up on 8, if that can happen.
Well, yeah, we want St. Mullins. St. Mullins like are 3 for 3, like, so. Do you know what I mean? So
yeah. So if St. Mullins were to slip, but still, head to head, they've pretty good score difference as well. Like, so they've beaten Rangers by 6 points. They've beaten Yee by what was it? They've beaten Nair pretty comfortably. So they're in a pretty comfortable position now.
Well, you'd imagine. Look, you would have probably imagined, all things being equal, that they'll top the group, like, you know what I mean? You'd imagine.
Yeah. Now look, to be honest, if I'm Bagenstown this weekend, I want to be letting skin and hair and everything fly for a few reasons. I'd be thinking, right, lads, we have to go up a few gears here, and also we got a bit of a massacre last year in that final when there was a lot of expectation on us maybe to produce there, and I think they might I have a feeling they might go hammer and tongs in this, and it's not that whatever they need to. It's kind of plain and simple. Because if not, they're looking at I won't say like a deadly situation, but a treacherous enough situation in many respects, going into maybe that last round where there could be a little bit of tidying up to do here. All of a slap like. Still an interesting game, yeah. I think it's a game of intrigue. I can't really speak about St. Mullins because I actually haven't seen him, but I'm going on all known form and all known reports. I'm expecting like St. Mullins have to drop something somewhere. I would say along the way. They don't have to, obviously, but they probably will. Like most teams tend to. It's not too many that have gone unbeaten the whole way without a little trip up here somewhere. JP Tracy did go back off the other day.
Yeah, he could be a big loss, I suppose. He could be again, a big game player, big man. Yeah, I don't know. I actually think the St. Mullins. I think if it's an open game, it might actually a shootout might be, as I say, it might be more beneficial to them, if you get me, in terms of Bagenstown. I just thought, they need that kind of high octane, high energy game, I think, to get the most out of themselves. I just thought when the tempo was sluggish the last day, that they didn't seem to raise it themselves, just kind of couldn't get the gears going. And I think they might feed off maybe the energy maybe that St. Mullins might bring in terms of, the game and an end-to-end kind of a high tempo game. I still can't see probably past St. Mullins in it.
Yeah.
I know, right, they'll have maybe rest one or two lads here or there. There's lads coming back from holidays and all, but they still have a pretty strong panel available to them. Jar Cody coming back there, being available is a big addition. And, JP Tracy on the far side, if he's carrying that knock again, that's another blow to their chances as well. Now Mark McDonald came on the last day there from he'll probably start maybe the next day for Bagenstown. He was quite impressive when he came in, got a point and self a score too. So Bagenstown might be looking. They'll be maybe blending out lads there. Keelan Guider come in as well. He had started games in midfield, so they're probably still chopping and changing a little bit in terms of their personnel. So I suppose you're not going to get a better test than playing the county champions to see what your depth, your panel is like, and where your strengths are.
Yeah, in fairness to Mark McDonald, since he's come back a couple of years ago, I think he's been excellent for the town in most games he's played. And he's played anywhere from at one stage he was back. I think maybe it was just because he was tracking, but he was back cornerback against Rangers at one stage, and then a few minutes either side of that there was a goal scored by him up at the far end. But like he's always had skills. He represented Carlow at the Fela Skills, I think, back whenever that was. It's a while ago now, probably a bit longer than he cared to admit. But he's a good, skillful player. He gets stuck in, he puts himself about. I think he's consistent with Bagenstown, in fairness, in most of the games that he's been playing or whatever.
Yeah, and I think they'll need him a little bit of. He knows when to dig in a bit too. You know what I mean? He's a good he's a good head for stuff like that. Like for kind of big games. He won't let games pass by him.
For sure.
But they'll need. I just think they'll need. They'll need that openness. I just thought they couldn't click at all. I mean, like I said, I think I don't know how many scores they had the other night there, but it was only a handful, and it was mainly in the second half when they kind of they got a couple of points from Paddy McDonald, got the goal. A fortuitous bounce off the post broke down to him and he buried it. But I mean, Danny Dyle got a point, I think. Who else? It was very paltry scoring by what we would think would be a kind of a sharpish enough forward line. And that kind of worry maybe Eddie Scally a little bit, that he needs them to fire. So even I think from a Bagenstown point of view, even if you could play in a high scoring, high tempo game, and even if they didn't come out the right side of it, if you get me, at the weekend, it wouldn't be the end of the world for them. I just think they need to get that kind of mojo rolling again in terms of, that kind of, again, that high octaneness or that kind of high tempo game. They need to kind of get that going. And I think maybe that even they wouldn't be too worried if as I say, have to put it up to St. Mullins and, and as I said, died with their boots on. It might be given something to go forward in the championship after that.
Mm-hmm. Naomh Eoin and Naomh Breed obviously being the last game of the triple header on Saturday evening in Netwatch Cullen Park. I wish Stevie was here with some stats that he's had on various different things, which I'll not divulge until he can join us. But I suppose again, it's not really for me to call on this particular one because I've not seen Nave Breed. I have seen Nave Owen. Couple of changes of personnel, Nave Breed wise the other day. I think some of them forced. Yeah, look, I actually don't even feel comfortable for a variety of reasons talking about Nave Breed, but maybe I'll let you take up this one.
Yeah, well, sure. Obviously, saw about them Sunday evening there gone by. Yeah, look, I just think apart from the result or the match itself, I suppose it's look, it comes down to like probably whoever wins or whoever doesn't win is probably maybe looks staring at the bottom of the group, but and I think that's I think both teams have made big progress. I mean, look, we have to remember this Sonny Breed's second year back up senior hurling, and even talking to different people, like everyone would be in agreement that there's progress being made there as well. Again, personnel wise, look, they were shorn a few against us, a couple of injuries and so on. But they have the bones of a good team there. Like we said, the three forwards is saying picking in no particular order, but say Mikey Bambridge, John Murphy, and Aaron Hammond, who caused trouble against any of the backs that they've gone up against. And that was we saw that up close and personal at the weekend. Fia Couture, middle of the field, was excellent. Great, good free taker. Adam Dunn was excellent at 6. Andy Malini, tight cornerback. So the makings of Colin Byrne's in a fullback. The makings of a team there. They're probably just that little bit off the pace of where they need to be just yet. But I mean, look, that's not like the logic would say it is why it is, because they haven't they're only finding their feet back up there again. But they're blending in like a good bit of youth there coming through as well. Like Ross Dermody was there. You had James Mark came on. Shane Curran was in middle of the field. Young lads like this are coming through as well, and they're giving them a chance, and there's more coming through as well. Obviously, after their minor and under 20 winning teams there from last year as well. So I think just a work in progress from a Nave Breed point of view. I think Nave Owen are probably a little bit ahead, even though I suppose they have a lot of youth in their team as well. But like their youth has come through over the last couple of years straight into a very competitive intermediate team, and then into a senior team as well. So they have their breeding ground, I suppose, and their juniors as well. Their breeding ground is a little bit stronger maybe than where Nave Breed's is at the minute. I think like from a Nave Owen point of view, like I said, while moral victories or near victories don't count on the scoreboard or don't count on the league table, I mean, if you don't take something from the year, and if you don't take something from every match, you might as well just throw in the towel. You know what I mean? Because it's like at the weekend or after this weekend, there's only going to be one All-Ireland winner. So our 31 other counties or whatever X many counties, do they just say good luck? Do you know what I mean? You have to take something from your year and where your progress is going, and Nave Owen are making progress. I do think. I mean, look, they have this game coming up at the weekend. From their point of view, they really need to get the victory on board. Do you know what I mean? I think if they get it, it's a big game psychologically for them. And you mentioned there, I think it was you mentioned about the idea of keeping going. When the results aren't going for you, what motivates you to keep going or to keep coming back? Or do you kind of say, "Feck it"? But I think if Nave Owen can get the result at the weekend, get the victory, and give themselves a crack at the last game, going in with something, I think it sets them up for next year. And they are going the right place. I mean, they have the nucleus of a very good team. They've been shown a lot of experience, even this year alone, in terms of 5 or 6 or 7 lads from last year's team or the last 2 years' teams have gone completely. So they're trying to reinvent things out there, and they are making progress. And I know speaking to one of their players recently, that he was very happy anyway, in particular with the manager, with the way he was kind of setting things up and with a view to the future as well. And I think you have to be patient. You have to be patient with the group of players out there. So I'd probably be tipping up Nave Owen. I just think they're battle hardened after the couple of close games. They know how to maybe bring the game to the game that they want to play in a tight game. it will suit them, and I think they'll get over the line at the weekend. I think they might have maybe a couple of points to spare over Naomh Bríd at the weekend.
Good stuff. We're going to wrap it up very, very shortly, but we have just a quick chat on, I suppose, the grades underneath the scene, which we don't really want to forget about, of course. I mean, Podge Ryan on last week. Great chat with Podge. His Kildavin side, Kildavin Donegal side, had a big win over Naomh Bríd, who played 2 games in the space of 2 or 3 days, I think. Put up a great score. The beauty of that game, of course, was seeing the scenes afterwards with all the Kildavin Donegal youngsters out looking for autographs. Podge Ryan burnt out the marker, I think. I went home with about 200 quid in his back pocket. I'm only joking, not. But look, wasn't it great to see in all seriousness? That's you talk about progress. Like, to see that happen, that's even progress. Like, it doesn't have to be something you see directly on the hurling field. Just seeing all those young kids who now have an adult hurling club to look up to is progress.
Yeah, pathway, and like, I mean, other things down there from a Camogie point of view, representing, Carlow and the Long Puck and stuff like this, they have a very vibrant club down there from the hurling and Camogie side of things down there, and we actually played them in Go games there last week at under 8 or whatever else, and it's good. It's coming good down there. It's brilliant. Like, it's kind of one of these little projects that's kind of as I say, coming and building maybe unbeknownst to us all. So yeah, and looking at who they have available to them, I think I saw in the team photo was maybe Niall or Barry Hickey were back as well, and Joe Roberts is flying for them at junior at that level, and obviously Podge will be flying away as well. So they'll be thereabouts in the shake-up. You probably think at junior level at the minute it's probably looking like Munster Rangers, Burn Rangers, and Kildavin Donegal are probably going to be the top. Are going to be the top 3, and then I suppose like we might maybe Ballinkillen are thereabouts. We bet St. Mullins at the weekend Sunday, and we did a victory over Carlow Town as well. So playing Michael now tomorrow night, so that'll probably tell a lot about the 4th place for the we call it the top junior. So yeah, probably after tomorrow night's game we might have a clearer picture of probably who's maybe in the 4th. Going to be in the shake-up for the 4th position in the junior for the top semi-finals,
Story of the week has to be Keelan Brennan, who hurled with Naomh Bríd juniors against St. Mullins last Thursday night. Rocked up to the game apparently in desperate need of a hurl. Got a end of a hurl, I think, off an under 15 who happened to be training at the time. Finished the game 1-7 or 1-8, and one of those points was from a sideline cut.
Yeah. That's junior for you, man.
Oh man, that is it. And I think they're probably 27 or 28 tagged out last Thursday night, which is phenomenal stuff.
It's the beauty. Yeah, it really is the I suppose the beauty of the junior build. When you have that 7 or 8 games, like, you build a bit of momentum, and lads will kind of come and go, and lads want games, like, and lads junior level, they're not too keen on training, and they want games, and when you can give them games at their own level, sure, like, why wouldn't lads want to be out and hurling? And it was even at the weekend now, St. Mullins, like, against ourselves, were very tight for numbers, but they had a lot of, we'll call them club stalwarts, like John Cody got a goal against us, and John does a bit of social hurling as well, and down there, and great for the junior. Is always great to gather lads. It's a great bit of spirit in it. So that was phenomenal to see. In fairness, that many tugged out.
Quick word intermediate wise, Joe. Now, I didn't really pay too much heed over the weekend. I'll be straight with you because of other commitments. But how way is that looking?
There's only a couple of games played. I think the game at the weekend was Carlow Town and Naomh Owen. If I'm thinking correct.
I'm going to look up there now while you're chatting about it, and I'll tell you about a fixture that's on Friday night. That's at McGrath Park with Bynderstown Gales at home to St. Mullins, and just having another little look around to see what's going on in terms of the other grades at the weekend. That's pretty much all I can see for the minute, being honest with you.
Naomh Owen won 210 to 110. So, which, like, I suppose, like, Naomh Owen, obviously they're decent, very decent intermediate team. They're a good panel of players there for the last couple of years, and obviously Carlow Town pushing them close was no bad thing either. I suppose they seem to be making a bit of progress there again this year inside, in terms of player personnel, backfielding 2 teams. They would have had 2 teams for years, but then kind of lost it a little bit. And backfielding 2 teams now again. So good progress there. I'm not sure the other. I'm not sure the other results in that championship at the minute.
Don't see massive. Intermediate wise, 210
Yeah,
they've won, 110 Cartertown was the score, and that's
Cartertown. Yeah, Cartertown lost to Mullinster Rangers by 4-17 to 1-17. And then I think the only other game in it, because obviously with the lesser amount of teams, was Naomh Mulling, St. Mullins bet Naomh won 3-15 to 14 points. So it's kind of you wouldn't know, as I say, everyone's in the mix, from time to time in that. So there's still a good bit of hurling to play in that yet, like. And I suppose some of the teams obviously in it, maybe St. Mullins, Naomh, Rangers might lose players, as I say, as the championship goes on. So whereas Cartertown obviously are going to be what they're going to be. So, like I said, even though despite the losses, they're still in the shake-up, like.
Last but not least, who wins the All-Ireland Senior Hurling Final, Kenny or Limerick?
Oh God, I think Limerick. I just can't see. I think it'll be a battle. I think Kilkenny are physically equipped to deal with them as best they can, but I think as best they can is the words that I use. I can't see Limerick being beaten. I just think they're a phenomenal team. The way their style of hurling, their physicality, they can do it. You name it, they can do it in terms of how to play. So I can't see past them, to be honest with you.
Good stuff. Well, look, it's a case of who has the darker shade of purple whenever the purple patch comes in, like. And while Kilkenny can punish you, I feel Limerick's ability to see out adversity, still be in the game. Look how many games this year they've been in that have
75th minute. They're there. They're there at 75th minute. That's when you win the game. The games are won. Says you in that time. A lot of Limerick games have been pulled out of fire then, and even last year they did it. We forget, like, they had to pull games out of fire last year as well by small margins, but they're relentless, and I think that's probably what will get them over the line. But I think I think they'll get a better kick maybe too off their bench. Kilkenny have a fine bench, but I don't know. They're not to the standard. I don't think of where Limerick are at the minute in terms of giving them that extra push. So yeah, Limerick by maybe 4 or 5.
Good stuff. Joe, pleasure as always. Thanks a million for joining us here this evening, and keep it lit, lad. Thank you.
You too. Take care.
The Left Wing Backs coverage of the Carlow Hurling Championships for 2023 is brought to you in association with Talbot Fitness, Brendan Kavanagh Furniture, Corcoran Precast Tanks, Milano's Takeaway Bidnestown, Connolly's Topline Hardware, PFT Travel, Ray Whelan Limited, Earth Spas, and the Arboretum Loughlin Bridge.